Water chemistry monitoring volunteers in the Wisconsin Citizen Lake Monitoring Network conduct their sampling 4 times per year. The first sample period is within 2 weeks of the lake completely thawing in the springtime. You may hear this sample called the turnover sample because a lake tends to mix completely from top to bottom at this time of year. The remaining 3 samples are collected during the last 2 weeks of June, July, and August. The samples and data collected during all of these periods are the same, except that the turnover sample does not include a chlorophyll sample. Please try to collect water clarity measurements every 10 to 14 days throughout the open water season. Dissolved oxygen measurements may also be taken during any of these sample periods for lakes that collect that information. Make sure that you bring all of the following items before heading out to do your chemistry monitoring. This would include a life jacket, your 6-foot integrated sampler or Van Dorn water sampler, your CLMN chemistry datasheet, chemistry manual, and a pencil, a Secchi disc, 2-liter water collection bottle, a cooler or other way to keep your water sample out of the direct sun, temperature meter, dissolved oxygen meter or dissolved oxygen bottles if you collect this information, and an anchor. When you're ready to collect your samples, paddle or motor out to the deepest part of your lake between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., ideally on a sunny or partly cloudy day. If you don't know where the deep hole is located on your lake, talk to your regional coordinator or visit the DNR website for help. Most public lakes in Wisconsin have a page on the DNR website that includes a variety of information and maps. Just visit dnr.wi.gov and type Find a Lake in the search box at the top of the screen. Click on the Find a Lake feature and then click Search. Here you can enter your lake's name and county and scroll down to the Contour or Bathymetric Map option. When you reach the deep hole of the lake, drop an anchor to keep your boat relatively still during the sampling process. The first monitoring step is to take a water clarity measurement with your Secchi disc. You'll need this measurement later to determine how much water to filter for your chlorophyll sample. Be sure to remove your sunglasses for the water clarity reading and take the reading from the shady side of the boat. This is to ensure consistency between all staff and volunteers monitoring water clarity on Wisconsin lakes. We have a separate video all about water clarity monitoring, which is linked at the end of this video and included in the video description below. Next, slowly lower your temperature probe into the water. Temperature measurements should be taken every 3 feet. Your temperature meter cable is marked every 3 feet for your convenience. If your lake is really deep, your regional coordinator may ask you to sample differently in the lower part of the water column. The temperature meter cable is marked every 5 feet, starting with the 45-foot mark. The next step is to collect your water sample. You may be using an integrated sampler or a Van Dorn sampler for this, depending on the depth of your lake. Before using your integrated sampler, make sure to rinse the sampler 3 times with lake water by lowering it into the water until the black tape touches the lake's surface. Pull the sampler out of the water and turn it over so the water pours out the top. If the water doesn't drain out quickly, you may need to shake the sampler a bit to get the ball valve to release and let the water out. Your water collection bottle should also be rinsed by simply filling it with lake water 3 times and dumping it out. Make sure to rinse the cap as well. To rinse a Van Dorn sampler, open one end of the sampler, lower it under water to fill it, and then dump the water out. Repeat this 3 times. To collect your water sample for phosphorus and chlorophyll analysis with an integrated sampler, lower your sampler into the lake until the black tape touches the lake's surface. Raise the sampler out of the water and gently push it into the water collection bottle. The small bar inside the bottle will release the valve in your sampler and allow the water to come out. Never touch the valve with your fingers. Dirt or residues on your fingers could contaminate your water sample. Tightly cap the water collection bottle and place it in the shade. This could be in a cooler, a live well, or under a seat or other object. The sample needs to be in the shade to prevent photosynthesis from occurring, which could affect your sample results. In shallow lakes, you may be using a Van Dorn sampler, and you should collect your water sample at 3 feet deep to minimize the risk of disturbing the lake bottom and getting lake sediments in your sample. There are 2 main styles of Van Dorn samplers, but they operate in a similar way. To set up the first style, push or pull the metal bar down in the plastic block. Then place the cable loop onto this bar and release the metal bar to lock it in place. Then you need to clip the second cable around the loop of the first cable. If you are using the other style, you just need to put each cable loop over the metal pegs and you're all set. This style of Van Doren sampler hangs horizontally in the water. Lower the Van Doren sampler 3 feet deep into the water. Hold the rope and brass weight out over the side of the boat and release the weight. The weight will slide down the rope and depress the metal rod, which will release both cables and allow the rubber balls to snap into place and contain the water sample inside. You can now raise the sampler back up. Some of the water may leak out when you remove the sampler from the lake, so have the collection bottle ready to pour into. Pull on the top cable to remove the ball, and you can pour the water sample into your collection bottle. It's okay if some water spills out. There is more than enough water in your sampler. Make sure to rinse all of your equipment with distilled water after each use. Please store your integrated sampler with the ball valve pointed up in order to prevent the ball from getting stuck in place. Your Van Doren sampler should be propped open with a clean object to allow it to dry completely. Once it's completely dry, please remove the object so the tubing inside the sampler doesn't get stretched out. Please unplug the cable from your temperature meter to conserve battery power and store the meter inside out of direct sunlight. To process your phosphorus sample, you'll need your water sample, rubber gloves, safety goggles, your phosphorus sample bottle and label, a vial of sulfuric acid, and an acid-added sticker. Be sure to wear your safety goggles and gloves. These are to protect your hands and eyes from the acid. Unscrew the caps of your phosphorus bottle and water sample bottle, being careful not to touch the rim of either bottle. Place the caps topside down and fill the phosphorus bottle up to the neck with your water sample. Before adding the contents of your sulfuric acid vial into your phosphorus sample bottle, remove the acid label and attach it to your lab slip as shown here. Then pour the contents of the sulfuric acid vial into the phosphorus bottle. Put the cap back on the vial. Tightly cap the phosphorus bottle and invert it twice to mix the acid with the water. Then add your phosphorus label and acid sticker. Put the bottle into a sandwich-sized plastic bag and seal it. The sample should now go into a refrigerator while you prepare your chlorophyll sample. To process your chlorophyll sample, you'll need your lake water sample, a graduated cylinder, distilled water, a hand pump, rubber stopper, filter holder, magnetic filter funnel, tweezers, a filter, and a chlorophyll tube. Start by moistening the filter holder with distilled water. Then use your tweezers to place a filter on the holder. The water you added will help hold the filter in place. Then carefully install the magnetic filter funnel around the filter. If the filter moves, wrinkles, or tears, discard it and use a new filter. Gently mix your water sample and pour the appropriate amount of water into your graduated cylinder. This amount corresponds to the water clarity depth you measured on the lake. Refer to the chlorophyll procedures in your manual if you don't know how much water to filter. In this case, our clarity reading was greater than 1.5 feet, so we need to filter 200 milliliters of lake water. Pour this amount of water into your graduated cylinder, and then transfer about half of this into the magnetic filter cup. Begin squeezing the hand pump to draw the water sample through the filter. Then pour the remaining water into the cup and filter it through. Rinse the magnetic cup with distilled water, squeeze the hand pump a few times, and remove the magnetic filter cup. Carefully fold the filter with your tweezers to a size that will fit into the chlorophyll tube. An easy way to fold your filter is to fold it in half, crease it, and then fold it in half again. Make sure that your tube is properly labeled. Your labeled chlorophyll tube should be placed into a sandwich-sized plastic bag and then placed into a freezer. Putting your chlorophyll tube in the freezer and your phosphorus sample into the refrigerator helps cool these samples down, and this will make the ice in your shipping cooler last longer. If the water sample doesn't want to drain through the filter, it is usually because the filter is clogged with algae or other debris, or because the pressure valve on the hand pump needs to be released. If your filter is plugged with debris and water will not pass through it, you have two options. You can filter as much water as possible, dump the remaining water back into the graduated cylinder, and write down how much water you were able to filter on the chlorophyll tube label, or insert the plugged filter into the chlorophyll tube and use a second filter to continue filtering your sample. It's okay to send more than one filter in your chlorophyll tube if necessary. Your last step is to fill out your lab slip. Make sure that it says the correct month at the top, and be sure to complete all highlighted fields on the slip. In the fifth section, you will write a depth of 3 feet if you used a Van Dorn sampler, and 0 to 6 feet if you used an integrated sampler. Inside your water chemistry shipping cooler, you'll find 3 gallon-sized plastic bags. One of these is used to hold your lab slip, and the other 2 each need to be filled about halfway with ice cubes. The 2 sandwich-sized bags are used to hold your water sample bottle and your chlorophyll tube. Please store your water sample bottle in the refrigerator overnight and your chlorophyll tube in the freezer so that they're as cold as possible when you pack them up for shipping. This will allow your ice to last longer and ensure that your samples arrive cold at the lab. Warm samples can still be tested, but the test results are most accurate if your samples arrive cold. To pack up your samples for shipping, open up one of your gallon-sized bags of ice and place your phosphorus water sample bottle directly into the ice cubes. Then place the chlorophyll tube in the ice next to it. Squeeze as much air as possible out of the bag and make sure that the zipper is completely sealed so it can't leak as the ice melts. Now put the bag into the foam cooler and press it against one side to make room for the other bag. Open part of the zipper on the second bag of ice and again squeeze out as much air as possible. Then reseal the bag, making sure that it's fully closed to avoid leaks. Put this bag into the other side of the foam cooler so that both zippers are facing up. The 2 bags of ice should be taking up the entire space of the cooler with very little airspace. If you have room for more ice, open up the second bag of ice, add more, and reseal the bag. You can now put the lid on the cooler, place the bagged lab slip on top, and close up the shipping box. Seal up your box with a strip of packing tape across the middle. Now grab your prepaid mailing label, pull the backing off, and attach the label to your box. Add 2 priority mail stickers to the box. The last thing to do is to flip the card around that's in the plastic envelope on the front of your box. So open up the envelope, grab your chlorophyll filter tweezers, and put the box flat on the table. Grab the card with the tweezers, flip it over, and put it back in. Reseal the plastic envelope, stand up your box, and your package is ready to mail out. We recommend contacting your local post office to see when packages leave the post office so that you can minimize the amount of time that your package sits there. If you have any questions, please contact your local Citizen Lake Monitoring Network coordinator or the statewide educator.